Welcome to How to Run Profitable Retreats podcast, the podcast that guides you not to only host retreats that thrive financially, but also transform people's lives. I'm your host, Yeni Cavazos, and each week I bring you the best strategies and personal insights to help you create retreat experiences that transform lives, both your clients and your own. In our journey together, we'll dive into the secrets behind successful retreats, from crafting a unique atmosphere to mastering the logistics that ensure profitability. Whether you're tuning in for inspiring interviews with leading retreat experts or seeking actionable advice in our solo episodes, this podcast is your go-to resource for turning your retreat visions into reality. Don't miss out on any of our episodes and subscribe now. For more tools and a free guide on creating your own six-figure retreat business, visit theretreatplanner.com. Now let's get started and make your retreat dreams come true. Welcome to another episode of How to Run Profitable Retreats. And today I'm so excited to have with me Jenny. And Jenny is a certified yoga instructor and intuitive healer, environmentalist, and creator of experiences. And we're going to be talking about that in this episode. Her passion is teaching people how to manifest the reality and live a more sustainable, conscious, and non-toxic life. So welcome to this episode, Jenny.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat about what experiences are all about.
Yes, I am so excited because I think this is such a powerful topic that we can have as a conversation in the space of like, what is the difference between an experience and a retreat? And for everyone listening here, you know, I'm all about retreats and I love them, but I started a lot with like creating experiences for people since I'm like 15 years old or probably even before. So I truly value what an experience is all about. So please take us through it, Jenny. What do you consider to be an experience versus a retreat, and your thoughts, and we could just have this beautiful conversation.
Nice. Yeah, I'll kind of give you a little bit of background. So me and one of my good friends, she also hosts retreats or experiences. And we were talking and we were like, we don't really host yoga retreats or like what people know as retreats. We host more than that. We host an experience that we hope that can alter people's life and kind of take them in a different route when they get back home versus just coming, getting away from their reality, having an amazing time, right? Because retreats are amazing, but then they kind of just go back to exactly what they were doing. So we're trying to create something a little more profound where people come, they heal those past traumas, they do the inner child work, they connect with more people so that they can leave feeling like, wow, I truly had a profound experience that's going to change my life. And not to say retreats don't do that as well, but I thought we looked at the definitions of retreats, and I pulled them up right now. And if you look at the main retreat definitions, it's like to move back or withdraw, they have to do a lot with war. It says to withdraw from enemy forces as a result of their superiority. And then like the fourth definition finally says to withdraw to a quiet and secluded place. One of them even says to decline in value. So those definitions just weren't hitting right for me and her. And we were like, we need to come up with a new word, something that really encompasses what we do. And we thought of all these different words and we came up with experience. And if you look at the definitions for experiences, is when you encounter or undergo something new, when you have like a new practical contact and observation of an event. So it truly is a little bit more than just a retreat. And I have had some instances where I collaborated with someone and they wanted to call my experience a yoga retreat. Tend to have different itineraries, and I did have some attendees come that were expecting a yoga retreat, and I host expansive experiences. So we do yoga just like one time in the morning. And I think it's important for me to continue and stay aligned with my mission and purpose of expansive experiences, because then I have those moments where people are coming expecting something like a yoga retreat, and we're actually doing a lot more and things that are way deeper, and we're going to go deep within. And like I mentioned, tackle those inner child wounds, tackle those unconscious commitments we've had since we were growing up. And sometimes people don't want to do all of that. Sometimes they just want to have a beautiful yoga session by the beach and enjoy the nature. And we do all that, but then we also do this deep healing work that takes a little bit more effort and emotions, and it all just depends what people are looking for. So to me, I think that's the big difference of like a retreat. It's more like let's relax and have just a very calm, peaceful time. And then for me, an experience is like we're gonna do all these experiences, like go to a regenerative farm and learn about that and how to have better practices, or go to a cultural adventure like we did now in the Philippines. We went and we learned how to weave the palms with the locals. We learned about the farms there. We learned about what they're growing. So to me, those are more like an experience, right? We're going and we're going to learn about the culture we're visiting. We're going to learn about ourselves. We're going to learn about the people we're around. So I think hopefully that concludes it. That was a lot.
No, no, it's perfect. I absolutely love it because yes, retreats is the kind of like the word that in a way encompasses so many different things. But the one that is most popular is a yoga retreat, right? It's the one that became popular, to be honest, because
Yeah.
there's more yoga centers around. Like it's a little bit more like, I'm gonna call it mainstream just for the sake of the conversation. But let's think about it in a way. Like if you want to go and heal your ancestors' wounds and everything, it's not like you find a location where everyone goes and does that every single week,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you
Yeah.
do find a yoga center, so it's a little bit more like well known, or a little bit more broad in a way, right? For people to be more like, more people can go to a yoga class, and more people will think, oh, I'm gonna go to this like place for weekly sessions on like healing my inner child, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is one of the reasons why yoga became like so popular when it came encompassed to retreats. In the same way, it has a lot to do with the space of like, a lot of people come for yoga thinking that it's like as a workout, not as a spiritual
Mm-hmm.
practice. So it's an easy in for people to start working with their inner selves, right? So
Yeah.
I absolutely love that in a way, because for people who are not ready, like some people that you join your like class, your sessions or your experiences, right? They were probably not ready to go deep, 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 or, like just to like, and they just wanted to put their feet in the water, right? And just
Yeah.
test it. And then they start doing yoga, and then the transformation starts to happen. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I want more. And then they start finding other things. But we need to understand that every single person is at a different stage in their lives, right? So there's people who are ready to go like deep in. Before this, we were just talking about like Vipassana experiences, right? There's people who
Yes.
are ready to go for 12 days into silence. And there's people like me that I had to go and test it for 5 days, and I realized that it was not for me.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And like, again, yeah, like you mentioned, people are just at different levels and it just depends what they're looking for. Maybe they've never heard it. Like I've also ran into people that have no idea about the words I'm using. They're like, inner child, what is that? Unconscious commitments, what? Sound healing? Like they don't know any of these things. And it's not their fault. It's just that they grew up in a different realm where those things weren't very prevalent or easy to find. Still in a lot of parts of the world, they're not super accessible. It is growing more and more every day. But I think that's why it's really nice to have like these experiences and have people come and experience things for the first times, and really get in touch with where we are. I think that's really important for me, like wherever I host. Like so far, I've done Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, El Salvador, and the Philippines. And each time I go, I really try to make it an importance on connecting with the culture there too. Like we're not just coming here enjoying the beauty of this place, but we're also going to enjoy the beauty of the people that have cultivated this place, right? And have kept this nature alive for us to enjoy. Because mostly we want to be in nature when we go to a retreat or an experience. So it's nice to really connect with those people that have kept the nature alive, because that's not a common theme in a lot of places.
Oh,
So
yes,
yeah.
totally. Like, and I completely agree with you. I think experiences are so powerful. And actually, I teach that, your business should be powered by your experiences, right? So
Oh,
this is like,
nice.
yeah, like this is my thing. It's like, okay, you're going to be powered by your experiences, good and bad. This is what's going to like fuel you to go to the next level, to take yourself to the next step where you want to go, right? But it's not about like
Hmm.
just saying, they don't exist. Like if you went into like a monk retreat where you like really like kind of want to forget about even the body, right? Like you want to release everything, and you just basically it's about disconnecting. So this is more about connecting with who you are, right? And the people who are around you. And then from there, you get to create something amazing. And even for me, when I'm like hosting retreats or I am giving consultations for like retreat leaders that want to run retreats, I'm just like remembering this like very specific experience. There was this wild woman retreat, was for 7 days in Mexico. Beautiful practices, all about movement and really getting you in touch with everything. But then once they came, and I mentioned it before, but then once they came, they were like, oh yes, now we're going to be here for 7 days inside the retreat center. And I'm like, if someone, like they were traveling from Australia, okay? So I'm like, if someone is traveling all the way from Australia, you want to show them a little bit at least of like the town and the culture, and you know, so they get to know a little bit more about the space where they're actually doing this transformation. Like, and this was in Amate camp, my brother's retreat center, right?
Oh, beautiful.
So it's like Tepoztlan, the place where it's located, is actually a like energetic center. It's a vortex. So the work that happens there, like energetically, it just supports you to go through deep processes. Like it shows you what you need to see basically on its own. Like you don't really need to do much, just be present. And it was so interesting because the teachers were going through all these deep processes, and they were like, oh my gosh, this is such a teaching experience for me. And I'm like, yes, like because the place where you're at, you know, it supports the process, right? Like even when people choose locations, I tell them, let's consider the elements. What transformation do you want to create, right? And then from there, which element do you need to support that process? Do you need chaos? Do you need a lot of air? Maybe you go to a beach, right? Do you need more grounded? Okay, go to, you know, like you need a lot of support, go to a mountain, you know, like use everything around you to support what you're creating, right?
For sure. And like connecting it with the workshops you're going to do too is so important. Like what goes better with certain things you're going to teach. Like I really like to do these environmental art workshops where people look at the environment, get in touch with the environment, and then create a little art piece. And in the Philippines, it just so happens a lot of the nature has trash in it. So we actually use that to our advantage to show people what our consumerism habits are doing to the planet, and creating art out of the trash and the nature in the beach. And it was really nice. And it was really nice to get people's feedback, and they enjoyed it, and it gives them a new perspective. So I think just analyzing where we are, what can we do here, how does this land benefit us, and always bringing in like a part of their culture, you know, whether it's like a temazcal or a cacao ceremony or a coffee farm because they're big in coffee. And I do like kind of run into a little bit of a hurdle, right? Like trying to promote them as expansive experiences because everyone's used to the word retreat. So it's like sometimes I do have to use the word retreat, like I host multiple day retreat experiences because that's become the more common term. But for whatever reason, when I say it, I'm like, but it feels like we're retreating, right? We're going back, we're going away from our life. And I want you to expand your life, like move into your life, step into it, love it more, enjoy it more, not get away from it, you know, like come back. And the things did hopefully will help you rearrange some of the things you're not loving. But I did get some really nice feedback from one of my friends once because she was in Italy and she's come now to 2 of my experiences. And she was like, Yeni, you've really spoiled us because I was looking for retreats and experiences in Italy, and all they do is like include the food and the yoga classes and nothing else is included, but they're like the same price points or even more. And she's like, and we do so much in your experiences, you know, we do so many workshops, so many fun activities, so many adventures. So it was like, yeah, it's true. And that's why I like to call it more of an expansive experience than just like a retreat where we will eat good, delicious, healthy food and do yoga, but we'll also do a bunch of more things that will hopefully expand our horizons, you know? So warning, if you come, you're gonna get spoiled.
Yes, that's amazing. No, and I truly believe that like I hear you totally in the space of like sometimes we do need to use the language that people understand, right? And
Yeah.
because it's also about visibility and so many other different pieces, right? At the end of the day, because so many times, like if we don't speak the language that someone will understand, right, and we go with this, I'm going to call it the woo woo words, right, very technical
Yeah.
stuff at the front end of our communication, people will not understand and they'll be like, who knows what this is probably
Yeah.
witchcraft, you know what I mean, like like you will like, because unknown makes us feel a little bit like tight, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes we do need to do this, but I completely understand, you know, like how it feels inside of you, like this is not really a retreat, but then it will
Yeah.
become all a piece of like education, right? So you educate people throughout it in a way. So for anyone listening here, if you're using a different term that is not retreats, because it's perfectly fine, you don't have to use the word retreats, you have Jenny here as an example to
Yeah.
really like follow your passion and your purpose, then figure out a way where you can also start educating people as you grow. So maybe at the beginning you do call it a retreat in the sense
Yeah.
of like for more people to understand it and to think about it and to just like get your name out there. But then later on, then you start educating people so they keep people that keep coming, they know that this is not a, or it's not just a retreat, it's an expansive experience, right? So you
Yes,
can even say
exactly.
like, this is not just a retreat, this is not just other regular retreat, like this is this, right? So educating people, it's so powerful, because then later on they will remember, because you are something that's different, right? People do
Exactly.
remember
Yeah.
different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what the impact you had on them was, versus when they attend something and when they come to your experience and they have this completely different immersive adventure and they're like, wow, yeah, this is different than what I'm used to, or they take note, or even that one client or attendee that I had that thought she was coming to a yoga retreat, she opted out of some of the things, and I actually didn't think, I was like, I'll never see this girl again because she wanted something different. And then she contacted me and was like, "Oh, I really wanted to go to your Philippines retreat, but I couldn't at the time." And I was like, "Interesting." So it is like we mentioned, like some people are just not exposed to different things, or they're very comfortable with what they're used to. And sometimes it does take that little pull to get them to try something new, or they sign up for something that they thought was something and it ended up being something different. But sometimes that's like exactly what the universe wanted for us, right?
Oh yes. And
Yeah.
also I think something that is important to consider, right, is this space where like I use the example of lawyers and doctors, right? So if you're a lawyer or a doctor, and I don't think many people in the audience are lawyers or doctors, but you probably know someone in your, in your
Yeah.
close circle, uh, you will notice that everything they talk about is either law or being a doctor, and all the
Yeah.
people that they hang around with, like their people are lawyers or doctors, right? It's very, very specific, because it's all
Yeah.
about energy and vibrations, right? So we need to also understand that so many times everything that we get feed on, like, on Instagram, I don't know, I invite everyone to go and check their Instagram right now and check their feed and see what they see, right? It's very like similar to the people around them and the things that they're looking for, the things that are selling. So many times we
Yeah.
feel, oh my gosh, everyone already knows everything, and it's just because the people that we're seeing, they've already gone through certain processes here and there, right? So you can also trick your algorithm into that, right? If you see my feed, it's
Yeah.
all about dogs, like it's like Samoyeds. It's not even like different types of dogs. It's all Samoyeds, because this is what I want to see, right? Like I
Yeah.
see coaches all over all the time. When I want to like scroll through my Instagram, I want to see cute puppies doing cute things.
That's so funny. It's funny that you bring this up because I had this conversation with my friend not too long ago, how, we're in that algorithm space and we think, oh, everyone's already doing what I'm doing, or all these people already know all of this. And it's so not true. Like there's so many people that we have not reached, or they're not reaching us, that have no idea even like what a retreat is still, to this day. And I've met them in person, and or people you meet and they're so surprised by what I do. They're like, wow, I've never met anyone who hosts experiences or retreats. And I'm like, really? I thought everyone was doing this. but it's because of the algorithm we're in. So we were talking about that. She was even mentioning like maybe doing a workshop, especially for like younger teens and stuff, of like making their algorithm be something they want to see, because ultimately it does it for us, right? So mine is actually lately all cats because my friend got this kitty, and we just send each other cat memes or like travel, and then a lot of like yogis and retreats. And yeah, you look at that and you think, wow, like what am I doing this for? Everybody's already doing it. And then you realize when you get out into the real world that no, not everyone's doing this. No, a lot of people need what you're offering because we're all unique in what we do. Everyone has their own magic and their own gifts. So I think that's really important to remember, that the algorithm is low-key tricking us a little bit to
Yes.
believe that we're not as unique and amazing as we truly are, but we are. And there's so much abundance in this planet, there's enough for everyone. And it's really great to still keep going and stay motivated and know that what you're sharing 10 years ago, you 10 years ago needed who you are right now. So I think that's
Yeah.
like a good motivation to remember, like, yes, I'm doing this and I feel like I know all these things and people know all these things, but in reality they don't yet, or they're looking for this, and you're like the perfect person to give them what they're desiring.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is like so, so true, right? And it's so important for everyone listening here to really like take a second and think through this, right? I'm sure if like you're a yoga teacher, you have said or thought at some point in your life, like I can like, like I can almost ensure you that you had the thought one day, everyone is a yoga teacher.
Yeah, for
Like because
sure.
it is the people you're surrounding yourself around, and it's like your friends
Hmm.
are yoga teachers because it's something that you like. But if you were like if you like mountains, hiking or mountain biking or whatever, like again you would think everyone rides a bike, and the reality that there is tons of people in the world that have never stepped on a bike.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, there's 8 billion people in this world. It would be very like irrational, honestly, but as humans we tend to be very, very rational. So if you have thought it, don't feel bad about it, but we tend to be very rational. But if like it's very normal for us to think that everyone is something, and then we're just generalizing, and then for me the trick is just think, okay, the reality, there's 8 billion people in the world. Are you really, really sure, Lainey, that everyone is teaching how to run retreats? And I'm like, hell no.
No, no way.
No
But it
way.
feels that way sometimes when you get all the ads and all the things of all the same things you're doing. And it's like, oh man, like, what am I doing this for? There's all these people doing it. But it's like, actually, there isn't. There's like 4 or 5 that are doing the same ads, and they keep showing up in my space because of the algorithm. And in reality, there's so many more people that are desiring exactly what we're giving. And slowly it'll get to them, or maybe quickly. But yeah, it's really amazing when you meet these real people out in the real world and you have these conversations and they're like, wow, that's so incredible. I didn't know this was real, or these things were happening, and you're so surprised. You're like, really?
Yeah, but we're now so used to like being online all the time, right? Like
Yeah.
it is like, okay, so this is like it becomes kind of like a bubble or mini world, right? Where we spend tons of our
Mhm.
time when we're working, and because like social media is a big piece of like online businesses and getting people to
Yeah.
go to experiences or retreats. So it is very normal that this can happen, right? And I'm sure everyone
Mhm.
has gone through it. But it's also again coming back to this space of like being powered by your experiences, in the way that you need to realize that there's no one that teaches exactly the way you do, because no
Exactly.
one
Yeah.
has lived the experiences and taken the same, there's no like, it's not like a cake recipe, you know what I mean? Like it's not like, for this cake to happen, X things have to happen exactly this way. We're not like that. We are these like mix of spices and different things coming around. And then
Yeah.
each one of us have our own very unique flavor. And because of this, it means that it doesn't matter how many other people are selling exactly something that looks very similar to yours.
Yeah.
It's not the same experience. It will never be. So then you are unique. What you offer is unique. And why wouldn't you find those people in the world that are ready to come and work with you?
Exactly. Yeah. And it does happen, like I had that, I think like in the beginning of this year or so where I got very unmotivated and I was like, oh, why am I even doing this? Like I'm having trouble getting people to my experiences, so on and so forth, whatever stories we tell ourselves that kind of take over our mind that we're like, oh, we're just doing the same thing. But then you think about like when you are in service and when you are happiest and when you're doing what you love, that's when you have the most abundance in every way, shape, or form. And that is what I love to do. Like I did that list one day and I was like, I love to teach people health and wellness. I love to get people to know themselves better and heal their traumas. I love showing people adventures and amazing places. I'm usually all my friends' tour guides. I used to make itineraries for all the trips me and my friends would take. And I love teaching people how to live more in harmony with the planet. And all those things are exactly what I make my experiences around, and when I stay true to that and I stay in alignment with what I love to do and what I'm passionate about, I have the best results. So
Mm.
that's definitely something I would like advise anyone doing experiences or retreats is to make sure where they're hosting it aligns with their values and their goals. Because I did have that one time where it was just so convenient for me to host in this place. It was a well-known place. They were willing to do 50-50, so no deposit, but they weren't in alignment with my views. They wanted to call it a yoga retreat. I'm like, I don't host yoga retreats. They wanted to do certain things, and yeah, and I did have like pretty low attendance. It was still an amazing turnout, and I had an amazing time, and everything we did was great. But there was that one attendee who was expecting something different, and there was like little hurdles with me and the company. So I think it's super important to stay true to what we do, what we love, what we want to call what we do. And that was a big learning experience for me for sure. And partially what took me down that route of thinking, rethinking my whole everything I'm doing. But then you remember what we just mentioned, and it's like we're special. We're doing something really amazing for people and for ourselves and for this planet as a whole. Because ultimately, we want people to love more and be more conscious of themselves so they can be better people overall, be more conscious of their planet. So, yeah, I got motivated again and things have been going well. But there's always going to be that little battle with our own mind, right?
It's part of the process, right? And
Yeah.
so many times, I think something that has happened to me every time I'm ready for expansion, like, I'm like going up in my prices, or like, I'm like just bringing something else, or, anything like that I'm creating, even if it's like, let's say for the sake of the example, the same program, but then I'm just like changing. Now it's different amount of weeks, like more teachings and everything. I'm like, okay, so this is worth more. And then I'm like, but last time I went through the whole process of like, how much do I charge? And then you go through the
Yeah.
same process again, and your mind starts like, but who's going to pay for that? And I'm like, I have to challenge my mind. I'm like, there's people, like, leave me alone. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it feels like you're not moving forward because the same thoughts keep coming over and over again. And you're like thinking, oh, I just turned around, like it was just like I went in a circle and now I'm back in the same space. But we need to remember that actually growth is not like a circle, or it's not a line. It's more like a spiral. So you might be in a point that
Yeah.
feels very, very similar to before, but then actually you are going up, but it just feels very
Hmm.
similar, right? But
Yeah.
it's like the reality is that it's not the same, because let's say your first program or your first retreat that you did was like $1,000, for example, right? Just for the sake of a number. And now you're like, oh no, I want to make 2,000 because like my expenses were like $995. Like
Yeah.
definitely I deserve to make a profit out of all the work and energy that I'm putting out there, right? So because it's like it's an energetic exchange, so it makes sense. So you're like, okay, maybe $2,000, and I'm adding this and that and blah blah blah. And then you go through the same thing, but who's gonna pay $2,000? And then you gotta think like, well, there's people paying $15,000 for a retreat or for experience or for something.
Yeah.
So if there's people for 15,000, there's definitely people for 2,000, and there's people for 500. You get to choose,
Yeah.
where you spend your time.
Yeah,
But
and where you network too, and where you speak to people as well. That was another thing I definitely thought of because I was like, okay, I have an amazing community, amazing, but a lot of them are like backpackers who want to do cheap travel because that's what I was doing, for a while, was just like backpacking, staying at hostels, and I met incredible people. But if they're spending not even $1,000 a month in traveling and doing all these things, then they're not really the market I'm trying to go for. And some of them are just not really caring to do that healing work, right? Like I spoke to one of my friends who I was backpacking with a little bit. He's like, yeah, I don't see why they're so pricey. And I'm like, yeah, because you're not just getting like the adventures, you're getting teachers and really skilled guides and independent contractors that we hire to do cacao ceremonies and sound baths and all these incredible things that are going to shift your reality and shift the vibration in you and ultimately change your life for the better. So you're not just paying for like the regular travel, you're paying for an amazing experience that includes everything. Like for me, I like to have them where like all you have to pay is your flight, everything else is handled for you, literally everything. You don't have to lift a finger. So I
Yeah,
think
there's
it
a
also like,
difference from room and board,
yeah,
right? And an experience, a retreat where you
exactly.
literally like for me also that's the whole idea is like you remove money out of the equation as soon as you walk through the retreat space, because you
Yeah,
don't want to be thinking like, oh, then I need to pay for this, and then putting your like bringing the energy of like money into the space. It's just like it's a distraction. There's nothing wrong,
it
like
is. Yeah,
money is amazing, right? Money is great, like I love it, but once you're in there, you want to like make sure that you're doing actually the work that you came to do, not thinking, mm, is this bread $5 or $7? Which one do I go for?
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it's just like it gives you that moment to be able to be held and sustained and in receiving mode, which I think in general a lot of people have trouble with, right? Because we're so used to being the caregivers or doing the things or taking care of ourselves that when you get that moment to just be completely held and sustained, sometimes you find people that almost like go back to acting like their child selves because they're so comfortable and they feel safe and they're in a safe container and they're like, oh, I can fully relax and give in. And I think that's so special and amazing that we get the opportunity to do that for people, especially people who have been moms or dads. At one of my last experiences, I had a dad who got married at 18 years old, had his kids, moved to the US from the Philippines, and now in his 50s is finally able to experience the world and his life. And it was so great to have him around and have him experience all these new things. And yeah, just incredible to be able to hold that space for them and be like, you don't have to take care of anybody this time, you get to just be yourself and have fun and be free and not worry about anything or anyone. um, so I think it's amazing that we get to create these containers for people.
So I have a question, and I think a lot of people in the audience will be very interested to know. So you mentioned that you knew you had a big community, but it was not the ideal community for you. So how did you
Yeah.
do that shift? What did you do to change that?
So I'm currently in that shift. What
Perfect.
I have done in the past is like made Instagram ads or joined a ton of groups. Previous to COVID, I would go to networking events, a ton of networking events. It seems that so much networking events have become now online, like we talked about a little bit ago. But to me, I love networking events. I love stepping out of my comfort zone, talking to people. So I really want to get more in that sphere. And then I started thinking about like, who do I think I can be the most beneficial for? So right now I'm actually working, it's what I was doing right before this call. I'm working on making a brochure of all my offerings that I can send to corporations and offer them retreats for their staff, for their team, and really make a shift in these people's lives. Because when you take care of your staff, you ultimately are helping them want to work more, be better at work, be better working together, because we do a lot of team building activities in my experiences. So that's kind of the angle I'm trying to take. And even then, I also want to create these brochures just for anyone, because I have tons of people that reach out to me and they're like, hey, me and my friends want a mini retreat. And I'm like, perfect. Now I can send them this brochure. They choose what they want of it. I can make them a nice little invoice of everything they want included, and they get to pick their perfect experience. So I want to host my own still and call in people that way. But I think this is a really neat way to get people to choose exactly what they want and are desiring and are needing. And I don't have a ton of experience in the corporate world, so this will be an interesting venture for me. But I do think it'll be nice to be able to help these people that maybe are those people that have never heard of half the things I host. And I do have a friend who was in that sphere and is like kind of helping me and guiding me and gave me some nice recommendations. So it's kind of the shift I'm taking, but also just getting out there and talking to more people and yeah, being more, I guess, communal and like joining more groups and stuff because you never know who you're gonna meet. And thankfully, I do get a lot of people that reach out like, oh, someone told me about you and this and that. And I think ultimately, at the end of the day, the universe will also bring the people who need what you're offering. But I really am hoping this brochure thing does well because I think it's really good and easy because I have a lot of people that do reach out to me and want like, oh, I can't go those days. And I could be like, oh, well, if you want me to create your perfect experience for you and your friends, here's a brochure. You guys can make it happen. I'll take care of all the details for you. Because I do get that a lot where people are like, oh, I can't go those days, or oh, how much would it be for my group of friends? Or like, I'm going for a birthday and I want these specific things. Who can do that for me?
Right.
Yeah, I used to work
Mm.
for this really cool company called Pathfinder Outdoor Education in St. Petersburg, Florida. And it's all about experiential learning. And that's kind of what we did. So this was like a perfect like experience for me to do before hosting my own retreats. Um, because they're like a nonprofit. So they work with schools and they host these like multiple day programs for schools, but also for groups of people. Like we had this really cool group that were like teen moms, or for like schools in more like impoverished areas, but then also for the schools that had a little bit more money, like Catholic schools or religious schools, they would do multiple day programs that would pay for then the ones that, of the schools that couldn't afford it. So we did a lot of really cool team building activities and tree climbing and canoeing. So they kind of are the ones that inspired me to do this because that's exactly what they would do. They would send a brochure and the schools would pick their perfect program, and then us, the facilitators, would come in and make their dreams a reality. So I
Amazing.
think this is a really cool way to go about it, you know, giving people also the option to make their own experience. Because maybe the things that are in the experience I'm hosting don't completely align for them. So that's kind of the shift I'm taking right now. And that way I can get to a new market of corporate people that I've never really been around because before doing what I do, I was an environmentalist. So I was hanging out with like scientists and stuff like that and always been a yoga instructor. So I think this will be a new route to take and a new networking opportunity that will be really cool, especially for people that sometimes sit all day and need to be more mobile, need to get out. So I think it'll be really exciting.
I like it. And I think
Yeah.
like a lot of people in the audience can relate with this. And I think I want to like kind of close the conversation with like this like insight for everyone who's listening in the space of like so many times we think that there's one way to do things, right? We think like the only way to do host retreats is to like be a yoga teacher and then do retreats. Hell
Yeah.
no. There's so many different
Mhm.
ways. And there's so
Yeah.
many different audiences that need your work. So think outside the box, right? Think about like how can you create things in a way that it's different, that fits your needs, and just keep going, right? And then, watch out. There's a previous episode that is called about retreats on demand, where we actually talk all about retreats on demand, where we actually
Nice.
get through the whole point of like, how do you shift in a way that makes sense for you, and what retreats on demand are. Like it's not a very known term because it's something that I kind of like, it's just like we're spreading the word out. But I have like, I spoke to like two people and I had a conversation and I just mentioned, you could be doing this and now they're doing that, like one in Egypt and the other one in Ireland. Like I spoke to them later on and I was like, how are you doing? And they're like, great, you inspired me. Now I'm running retreats on demand in Ireland. And the other one's like, I'm running retreats on demand in Egypt. So instead of having to find 20 people, then I just get one client who wants to bring all their people. Makes so much more business sense for
Nice.
me. Right. So
Perfect.
have a look for that one out there. And well, Jenny, if someone wants to find you, how do they find you? How can they find out more about your expansive experiences?
Perfect. Yeah, the most easiest way is get zen with yen.com. So get zen with yen.com, and there you can find all my other social media handles and pictures and videos of the expansive experiences I've already hosted, and message me if you want to create your own expansive experience, because now that's an option.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been wonderful. And thank you for everyone who stayed on and learned a little bit more about all the beautiful things and expansive experiences versus retreats. So see you next time.
Bye.
Wow, what a great episode. If you like our podcast, How to Run Profitable Retreats, leave us a review and share it with a friend.